Hey guys, I am here for my update after I went to my urologist to get my PSA test results, the most current ones. As most of you know, my basic history was last year my PSA number jumped up to 12.6 with my primary care doctor, prompted me to go to a urologist. They wanted me to do another PSA test, which I did. That one came back at 12.97 within a month. And at that point, they wanted to do prostatectomy and biopsies, and I refused both. I'm not into invasive procedures when I feel as healthy as I do still. Very few symptoms, just weak stream. And again, went on a research journey and found and went on an anti-inflammatory diet, drastically changed my diet. I'll get into that in another video sometime down the road, but in 40 days, I was somehow able to drop my PSA number from 12.97 to 6.6 in 40 days. After that, I continued on that diet and went ahead and ordered another PSA test myself in the latter part of February 25th. And I just got the results back when I went to my urologist today. And I was hoping it would stay down or around the same, but it has jumped up to 9.8 from 6.6. So I was a little frustrated, upset at first, but then learning so much and it's so much information to take in and then put all the pieces together. But that actually fits in well with what I have going on. That's a pretty classic sign of inflammation. I know I have BPH, prostatitis, inflammation. Those elements together cause a heightened BPA or PSA reading. And after going to my doctor to let him know of my findings and discuss my most recent readings, I hadn't been back to him in months since I left before and refusing his procedures recommended. So I was hoping that I would be able to have a conversation with him about inflammation and prostatitis and BPH being the directing factors, the driving factors in my PSA numbers, because my research has brought me to that conclusion. Again, nothing I say is medical advice. This is just, I'm sharing my journey and the things I've learned. But I can tell you the things I'm learning, and you all can find it too. It's out there. It's if it speaks to you, no one knows your body better than you do. And if it speaks to you, you can figure some of this stuff out yourselves. I'm not saying not to consult a doctor or anything like that. I think that they should be involved, but it depends on the kind of relationship you have with your doctors. When I went back today, once again, I was met with, fear mongering. It's cancer, it's aggressive cancer, They wanted to have my prostate out in December. And I'm alive, well, and fine, and I feel just as healthy as I did then. I have no other symptoms. And I tried to discuss with him about my history. I have my history of PSAs since 2012. And, as you're going through them year by year by year, incremental jumps and, dips, it's like it's up, it's down. I didn't know anything about my PSA like I do now. And the picture that it paints for me now is really clear. What is going on in my body, I believe, is a lot of inflammation. My prostate, it flares up and it gets relief and goes back down. That has been my process for literally over a decade. And I wasn't concerned until it went over 10, went to 12, over 12. Okay. My highest before that was like 8.4 or something like that. And then again, dropped down to 5. Okay. So I had all these significant peaks and valleys. All of that is really, that's like, standard for BPH and prostatitis and inflammation. They have that signature. They go up and down all the time, dramatically. And that's the one thing about cancer that is very rare from the research I've come across. And there's links to all the sites that prove all of this stuff. That cancer doesn't have those kind of dips. It might have minor ones, but it's rare. Cancer is generally a steady progression, is what I have found in my research. It's certainly, I've never read anything about a dip of 47%, which is what I accomplished in 40 days from my change of diet to an anti-inflammatory diet, down from 12.97 to 6.6. That says something. That says my body's not in true crisis, right? That I don't have to rush. I've referenced it before, and I always will probably, the PROTECT trials. That's where I gain my strength from. You've got 3 groups of men that chose radiation, surgery, and then active surveillance. And that's what I'm choosing. Active surveillance is PSAs testing on a 3 to 4 month basis, and annual to semi-annual MRI checks. And if you feel good other than that, then that's enough. Many people have, even if I have a slow growing cancer, if I have a cancer, I think it's slow growing. It's not, I can't tell for sure unless I do a biopsy or something, and I'm not doing those. I don't believe in the invasiveness. I think there's risks that aren't necessarily, studied enough. And so that's just my course again, and what I'm choosing. Like I have said earlier in my videos, people get to learn from my, my thought process, my victories, and from my mistakes. And, I just want to share the thought process because it feels right. And I think people are rushed into this way too quickly. too much. There's percentages out there. There's like 300. It varies by agency, but roughly in the middle, 300,000 new cases of prostate cancer a year. Of those, there's about 9.4 to 9.7% misdiagnosis and overtreatment, meaning approximately 30,000 men get put through brutal testing. Biopsy's no joke. There's side effects and, issues, things that happen that they don't want to happen. It's, an 18 gauge diameter rod they're putting in there multiple times. And depending on where it's at, that's it. It could be one of the most difficult places to get a specimen from, which is my case in the transition zone, which also I have a PSA 5, and I've learned that in the transition zone is the most misdiagnosed MRI reading in the prostate, because that is where BPH starts always, and it grows nodules in there almost always. And the imagery, MRIs are not like a picture, okay, of, a perfect camera picture. They're an electronic magnetic resonance picture. Normal people can't look at anything and have any idea what the hell they're looking at. But it shows, after training and stuff, they recognize the areas, of course, but they still can't see good enough to know what something is. That's where there's different ratings, and PSA 5 is supposed to be the worst, the suspicious of the most aggressive cancers. And what I found out again was that in the transition zone, where BPH starts and grows nodules, and it's the most misdiagnosed area, is because it literally mimics cancer. It looks like cancer. It's got a few variances, and mine has those variances. It doesn't have defined borders of a mass. So these are just a few of the things that are giving me, the fuel to continue on my path, because I'm getting the feedback that I feel, that there's air for mistakes. And when I went into my doctor, he's a super nice guy. I like him. But at the same time, he was of the mindset that, my number needed to be under 4.4 no matter what. That's what they're trained. They're trained 4.4 over, it's cancer. It's not. As we age, every one of us, our prostates get enlarged. And when your prostate gets enlarged, for whatever reasons, it always produces more PSA. Okay? So as we age, your normal number is going to go up. I haven't been under 4 since 2012. Okay? And I've been just fine. And like I said, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I have cancer. And if it is, it's slow growing, to be sure. But my physician wouldn't even have the conversation with me about BPH, prostatitis. All he wants to do is have a biopsy and, to get a confirmation of cancer so that he can do a prostatectomy on me, which will not happen. I will exercise active surveillance until something would have to drastically change, is all I can say. That is my thought process and how I plan to move forward. And that's not for everybody. That's for me. That's what I'm doing. And I'm pushing back against, people that have degrees and have studied and been in this, but I see something that, the inability or, unwillingness to have a conversation about something that is absolutely possible, but it's only possible in roughly 10%, right? 300,000, 30,000, there's only 10%. So it's a real small minority. So it's not their fault. They're just so prone and in that mode, that's all they're going to do. That's all they're going to diagnose as. So, I walked out of there and I'm just like, well, we're still on our own. That's fine. And that's fine. Like I said, I'm not burying my head in the sand. I'm not refusing any treatments. I am choosing my treatment, which is active surveillance. And other than that, I'm living with my diet is a highly anti-inflammatory diet. It's delicious food. It's mostly vegetarian, chicken, fish, fruits. I don't drink any alcohol. That's terrible for inflammation. Sugar is terrible for inflammation. I don't eat any sugar basically. Besides fruits is my sugar. And again, I'll do another thing on diet and foods because everything gets broken down into sugar anyways. So you got to learn a lot about that to try and have an effect is what I feel. Now again, my number went up. So it's like, I don't know. I've been doing the same thing, but it's irritated or inflamed. And so it went up some. But again, there is something else they're not talking about, which is your density of your prostate. I got my density from my prostate from my MRI. A lot of valuable information on that sheet, on that report. And there's an equation that you can do that gives you a range of what your normal PS, when your prostate is X big and you multiply it by 0.15, then that gives you the top end range for what you can have, just being a PSA that you can have that is within the benign range, and a cutoff for anything over that might be concerning. Okay, and doing that equation again, that I'm still okay. I was okay at 12.75. Now down to 6.6, I had no worries. Now I'm at 9.8. I'm still well under. I'm in that range of inflammation is causing all of this. But you do the math and you do the numbers, and it takes some of the fear away. It takes a lot of the fear away. You learn everything I've learned, and I'll, throw it all. I'm going to put all the information in my shorts as much as I can, little bits at a time, and give you guys the tools. And it can help. I just want to help people slow down and ask questions, because there's 30,000 men a year that need that. And if I just went along with it, they would have had me done in December. And I'm grateful as hell that I've went on this journey. And it's, I just can't imagine everybody else not knowing this, because I'm dumbfounded by it. And again, the fact that my doctor didn't want to talk, he just refuted. He refuted basically, that my numbers were from inflammation, BPH, prostatitis. Didn't even want to talk about it. Just glossed over it, and kind of pushed through and said, no, your numbers are steadily up. And how are they steadily up when there was a 47% drop in 40 days? That is telling a different story than what he's telling. And that is something I lived. So I can't believe what he's telling me. I don't care how many degrees he has. That doesn't sit right with me. So that's where I'm at right now, guys. My numbers back up to 9.8. I'm staying on my diet. That won't ever change. The foods I enjoy are freaking delicious. It's not an issue for me to do that. And I stay active. I think that's a big part too. But I'm going to continue. This is my mission in life right now, is to get this message out. I don't see anybody else talking about this. And I want people to know that if they had their way, if I listened to the doctors like so many people do, and no fault to them, everybody's different, but so many people are intimidated by them and just absolutely, they don't know, so they just go along. And lots of people are being hurt by that. I know that. And I just want to stop. I just want people to stop, slow down, and think about it before you act. Don't respond out of fear. Respond from knowledge. That's a much better place to come from. And, I appreciate everybody that's, starting to join in and, watch my videos. Makes me feel good that people want to hear what I have to say about this, because it's important to me. Everybody's got to decide for yourself what's right for you, because again, the majority of people, they do have cancer, damn it. Okay? And I feel very fortunate that I've fallen outside that box, but I'm not the only one. And that's the people I'm trying to reach. Everybody that's dealing with the cancer, they've got to deal with it on their terms and figure out which direction is going to be right for them. This is for all the other people that don't feel like it's right, don't feel like you've got cancer, don't feel like the symptoms fit, because there's none to few, and they're not encroaching on your lifestyle. That's who this is for. To slow down and ask those questions. And if your doctor won't have the conversation with you, either get another doctor or you got to do it yourself. The information is out there. And I will tell you this. In my research, I have learned to utilize AI a great deal. And everybody's got their opinions about everything. And I hear about AI all the time too. I would not have been able to get this far without using AI. And the questions that I ask, the responses that I get, along with the links to the information to back it up. It's just like the web, except for it's web 2.0. It's, the old web, we have to type in everything. And then you get, 16 pages of, web pages to sift through to find your information. You know, it's just like working on my car. I've got a manual out there, and I mean, I don't have the damn thing memorized, but I could go, you know, before I used to be able to go through and, you know, find it. It would take me some amount of time, you know, depending on what the problem was. If I wasn't familiar with it, you know, I've got to read through a whole bunch of material. Now, I mean, shit, now I don't use my, you know, manual to do any repairs that I need generally. I consult AI, and I can say it's sounds like this, and it gives you some amazingly point on things to try. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Is just to give you guys a heads up, that's where I have gotten a lot of my information from, and it feels right for me. And it has the links to all the sites that it gives me data on. And those are the ones I click in on, and that's why I say it's irrefutable. It's irrefutable. And again, a doctor isn't even acknowledging it. And there's a problem with that. Anyways, like I said, for the 10th time, I just want everybody to be able to slow down and make a good decision for themselves and save some people from having harm done to them. All right, guys, that's it for me. I've rambled on too long again, and I will be talking to you in the shorts. Take care.